Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a session this time jointly between Kahani Kancheti and Speaking Tiger. Now, since this is the first time we are doing a collaborative event with Speaking Tiger, the publishers, I will quickly tell you something about Kahani Kancheti. Now, Kahani Kancheti is a digital platform where we discuss and talk and write and debate and deliberate anything that falls under the large spectrum of art and culture, which means from theater to cinema to poetry to books to almost everything that comes under that canvas. And every week we have a live show. Currently, we have taken up celebrating the centenary of Satyajit Ray, and every Sunday we are discussing one of Satyajit Ray's female characters from his films. Like so, there are articles and all sorts of stuff happening about Ray in our website. Now, this is our first venture, first outing in terms of a live show with Speaking Tiger books. So I must tell you something about Speaking Tiger, and then we will come to the main attraction of the show today is Enter Stage Right. Now, Speaking Tiger Books is an independent publishing house based out of Delhi. It was started in 2014, and they have published a diverse number of books, diverse subjects, fiction and non-fiction from Southeast Asia and rest of the world. And their authors include some veterans like Nayantara Saigal, Ruskin Bond, Shanta Gokhale, Jerry Pinto, Mark Tully, and you have Wendy Doniger, Upamanyu Chatterjee, Nandita Haksar, Harsh Mandar, and Hansda Sovinder Shekhar, Madhavi Menon, and Ravish Kumar, to name a few. One of the major key focuses of Speaking Tiger is Indian and international literature translation, and they have a number of award-winning productions, publications under this category. They also publish books for children. It's interestingly called Talking Cub. And the Talking Cub imprint has authors like Paro Anand, so those who are very familiar with children's books. And of course, Ruskin Bond, who traverses both Bulbul Sharma, Ranjit Lal, Bijal Bacharpani, Shabnam Bindwala, and of course, Shubhadra Sengupta, whom we lost very recently. So that is Speaking Tiger. This is Kahani Kancheti. And our subject today is the book published by Speaking Tiger, Enter Stage Right. Now, what is Enter Stage Right? I'm sure most of the audience today are from the world of theater. So this is really for those who are not from the world of theater. This is how it goes. Well, Enter Stage Right is actually an epic story about the three great families in theater, the Alkazis, the Padamsis, and told by one of their own, Faisal Alkazi. Now, this covers Ibrahim Alkazi, the iconic theater personality, man who was the first director of National School of Drama, Alek Padamsi, the actor, theater director, and of course the advertising genius, Pearl Padamsi, Roshan Alkazi, who has also pioneered the costumier and founder director of Art Heritage. And in this book, Faisal Alkazi tells the story of his family with humor and candor. It's actually the history of contemporary theater in India, and as it has really never been told before, and you will really know why, and those of you all who have read it will probably agree with me on this score. This book actually is a must-read for anyone who loves theater, with more than 50 rare photographs. Now, this is something you will not get on the Kindle edition. You'll have to buy the book for it. There are 50 rare photographs. This book is a collector's item, even if I were to say so. Now, Faisal Alkazi, as most of us know, is an educationist, theater director, and an activist. He has carved out his own niche with his group Ruchika. He has directed over 200 plays with adults in Hindi, English, and Urdu. He has also directed over 100 productions for schools all over India and in the field of disability. Very interesting factor there. He has directed 30 documentary films and produced several plays. Now, to talk to Faisal Alkazi will be another personality from Mandi House, Amitabh Srivastav, popularly known as Bobby. Now, Amitabh Srivastav is a product of the National School of Drama. He graduated in 1979 with specialization in acting, which he quickly followed with a plunge in the Delhi theatre scene. And here he had an opportunity to work with people like Alkazi, B.V. Karanth, Fritz Benevis, the German director, Barry John, Ranjit Kapoor, and a host of others. And in the last 40 years, he has acted in more than 75 plays in very important roles. And in addition to that, he has been working on a number of TV serials and feature films, and he's worked with directors like Govind Nilani, Basu Chatterjee, Kamala Hassan, Dave Benegal, and many others. It's a long list. I'm sure you all would like to know more about him as he speaks. And he's also been in the world of written a number of original scripts for television and dialogues, and also for feature films like Abhay and White Rainbow. In 2011, Amitabh Srivastav was honored with the Sangeet Natak Academy Award. So, all set now, the stage is set. They will enter stage right, and once they come in, I will exit stage left. So, with that, here's Mr. Faisal Alkazi. And I think, have I got it right, Faisal? Have I got that Faisal right? Oh, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you. And here is Amitabh Bobby Srivastav. So now, as the kind of that Sutradhar, or the, which is, I'm told, is the Indian version of the Greek chorus, I have set the stage. I shall move out. And if you all have any questions, which I don't think you all will have, because just keep listening to this. I can assure you, I was there in that, what we call in advertising, the dry run yesterday. And I can assure you, just keep listening. You will love this. So I will go backstage, leave it to you all, carry on from there. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Faisal. Thank you.
Hi,
Thank you.
Bobby.
Hi, Faisal. How are you?
Very well, very well. Love the weather.
Okay,
the
Nikki.
हाँ,
एक तो मैं थोड़ा नर्वस हूँ कि दिस इज द फर्स्ट टाइम आई एम गोइंग टू टॉक लाइक दिस अबाउट ऑन ए बुक. हम लोग वैसे बैठ करके बुक डिस्कस करते रहते हैं, पढ़ते हैं, बट लाइक इन दिस काइंड ऑफ ए प्लेटफॉर्म. और मेरा सवाल पहला कुछ और था, लेकिन व्हाट सुजीत हैज जस्ट सेड कि वी विल एंटर स्टेज राइट एंड ही विल एग्जिट स्टेज लेफ्ट. तो मेरा यानी कि मैं मेरे से सवाल कम होंगे आपसे, तारीफ ज्यादा करूंगा मैं आपकी किताब की. बट यानी कि इट इज वेरी लवली बुक. इसका नाम जो है एंटर स्टेज राइट क्यों रखा गया?
Okay.
व्हाट वाज द रीजन, कहानी इसके पीछे?
जी बिल्कुल कहानी है. तो आई थिंक बॉबी, whenever you write a book, I think you don't know, शुरू से बहुत कम हमें पता होता है कि फाइनली क्या टाइटल रखेंगे. और ऐसा टाइटल होना चाहिए कि immediately people who see the book, because I'm not a greatly published writer, I've written earlier, but on very diverse subjects, they should get the subject matter quite directly, I think, in what they are seeing. So I gave it a lot of thought, and I think one of my very close friends, Malti Shah, earlier Malti Khanna, Krishn's daughter, very much growing up companion, she said, Faisal, make sure that you have a tagline that it's a memoir of the Alkazi Padamsi family, because many people in the theatre world don't know that Alec and your father Ibrahim were brothers-in-law. You know that nata itna close tha. So I just thought it has to be something very simple, something you remember, something you won't have to agitate your mind, you know. And sometimes we have these very poetic titles, jo quite frankly मेरी सर के ऊपर से चले जाते हैं. So I just came up with this very spontaneously, and I think it's good to describe exactly what the book is about, because it's about backstage, on stage, and the lives that surround it. So I felt this described it. Enter Stage Right, you know, the family memoir of the Alkazi Padamsi, the memoir of the Alkazi Padamsi family. Yeah.
ये तो यानी कि खैर मैं जो हमारा एक एसोसिएशन है विद दिस एंटर स्टेज राइट तो नहीं है एग्जैक्टली. Mr. Alkazi had created this lovely performing space at third floor of Ravindra Bhavan, studio theatre, by breaking the wall between the two
Two rooms.
rooms.
Yeah.
और आपको यानी कि आपने मुझे पता नहीं कभी उसमें परफॉर्म किया कि नहीं किया, मैंने तो कई प्लेस किए वहां पर स्टूडियो
I
थिएटर में.
performed there. Absolutely.
एंड यू एज यू नो कि उसमें एक साइड सिर्फ वॉल है और
That's right.
आपको सिर्फ एक साइड से, यानी कि अगर ऑडियंस की तरफ से कहें तो स्टेज राइट से ही एंटर करना होता है, और वैसे स्टेज लेफ्ट से ही एक ही एंट्री होती है थी उस थिएटर में.
Yes.
और उसका जो एक इंटरेस्टिंग वो कि आई डिड लॉट ऑफ वर्क विद रंजीत कपूर, हु इज अ फेमस थिएटर डायरेक्टर, यू नो, एंड एवरीबॉडी नोज, मोस्ट पीपल नो अबाउट हिम. तो वो बोले कि वहां पे हम लोगों को प्ले करते करते ऐसी आदत पड़ गई थी कि व्हेनेवर आई डायरेक्टेड अ प्ले, मेरे ज्यादातर कैरेक्टर्स की एंट्री जो है वो स्टेज लेफ्ट से ही होती थी. तो खैर इन्हीं की, इसलिए मुझे एक तो मैं
I'll just give you a little. You asked whether I ever performed there. Yes, I
Yeah.
did, and it's so interesting. You know, the first few shows of Waiting for Godot with Mohan and Om Shiv Puri, I played the young child. Later on,
who comes in between the
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
certainly also with Amba Sanyal in it, there was a summer workshop, and in 6 characters in search of an author, she
Yeah.
played the lead. My father directed, and I played the brother who shoots himself towards the end of the play. So these are my 2 appearances in those 2 productions.
studio theater.
Fathers in the studio theatre, leave alone, of course, in Just Maudan and in Othello, and then many plays in Bombay. But all tiny roles. I was a very young person at that time.
Must be a child, young child that time.
Very young child. Absolutely, yeah. I came to Delhi when I was 8 years old. So these plays I must have done when I was between 11 and 14. Yep.
Yeah. अच्छा, लेट अस गेट बैक टू द बुक. एक तो मुझे ये कहना है कि आपने बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग, एनग्रॉसिंग और एनलाइटनिंग ये किताब लिखी है, एंटर द स्टेज राइट. और यानी कि मैं जो हमारे बाकी इसमें जो लोग जुड़े हुए हैं और सुजीत को बताना चाहता हूँ कि वी आर एनएसडी इज ब्रिंगिंग आउट ए बुक ऑन मिस्टर अलकाजी, और उसमें फैसल ने एक बहुत अच्छा, बहुत बढ़िया एक आर्टिकल लिखा हुआ है. और इनफैक्ट जब उसका आर्टिकल आया और मेरी बात हुई फैसल से, तो ही सेड कि यू सी आई एम राइटिंग ए बुक ऑन मिस्टर अलकाजी एंड पद्मसी फैमिली, और अगर उसको जो आप जो राइटर्स का इंट्रो करते हैं उसमें अगर आप यू कैन मेंशन दैट बुक. तो मैंने ये भी कहा था फैसल से नंबर कि हो सकता है कि आपकी किताब पहले आ जाए, हमारी किताब उसके बाद आए. और अभी हुआ यही कि इनकी किताब आ गई, हमारी किताब अभी तक नहीं आई है. बट मैं थोड़ा सा कहानी बता रहा हूँ कि आई डोंट नो हाउ आई गॉट एसोसिएटेड विद दिस बुक, कि उसके बाद सडनली आई गॉट ए कॉल फ्रॉम द स्पीकिंग टाइगर. मुझे पता नहीं किसी लेडी ने फोन किया था, रेणुका, एंड वो जो है इस बुक की कॉपीज एनएसडी की बुक शॉप में रखना चाहती थी. तो उन्होंने मुझे कहा, तो मुझे एक लेटर भेजा, साथ में कॉपी भी बुक की मुझे हार्ड कॉपी भेजी. और व्हेन आई गॉट द बुक, तो मैं ऐसे जैसे होता है कि आई स्टार्टेड पन्ने पलटना शुरू किया, और यानी कि जैसे मैंने उसको यानी कि स्टार्टेड रीडिंग इट, तो इतना अच्छे तरीके से फैसल आपने लिखा है कि आई स्टार्टेड रीडिंग इट, यानी कि सडनली आफ्टर हाफ एन आवर रियलाइज करे यार मुझे अपना काम करना जो मैं कर रहा था, मैं कहाँ ये किताब आई है, और इसको पढ़ने के लिए बैठ गया. तो बहुत ही ये जिसका ना जो एक होता है कि बहुत ही जो गुड रीड, यानी कि आपको किताब पढ़ने में मजा आता है, यू एंजॉय रीडिंग इट, उसकी लैंग्वेज बहुत अच्छी है, बहुत ल्यूसिड है, और जिस तरीके से आपने लिखा हुआ है. पर मुझे ये जानना था कि जैसे आपने उसके लिखा हुआ एक्नॉलेजमेंट में कि रेणुका चटर्जी ने गेव यू आइडिया एंड इट टुक 18 months टू राइट दिस बुक, लेकिन जिस तरह का उसमें वेल रिसर्च्ड मटेरियल है अबाउट अलकाजी फैमिली, अबाउट पद्मसी फैमिली, और सिर्फ वही नहीं, बॉम्बे का थिएटर, दिल्ली का थिएटर, इंडियन थिएटर, तो यानी कि ये बुक आपने 18 महीने में लिखी कि इसके पहले से कुछ आपकी तैयारी चली थी, कैसे लिखी? हाउ डिड यू राइट दिस बुक, योर जर्नी?
Not at all, Bobby, nothing in advance. सब उसी समय हुआ. I think at a Diwali party जहाँ पर सब लोग ताश खेल रहे थे, at a friend's house. In fact, Paro Anand has just been mentioned at her house. So Renuka and I both know Paro very well, and just walking past the table where I was sitting with my wife, Renuka ने कहा कि किताब लिखो, family memoir लिखो. I was like, what did she just say, Radhika? I asked my wife. She said, it's a great idea, do it. तो लगभग मुझे 6 हफ्ते लग गए, बॉबी, टू बी वेरी फ्रैंक, टू डिसाइड दैट आई वाज रेडी टू टेक दैट स्टेप. और फिर ये होगा नवंबर, आई थिंक 18, फिर 19 में, a day before my birthday, in fact, on the 8th of January, I said, Renuka, I'll come. She said, great. And I went and met her. And we must have spent about just not more than a minute and a half talking about the book. Not more than a minute and a half. I said, what is there, any guidelines as a commissioning editor? She said, no, you speak so effortlessly and so well. जैसे आप बोलते हैं, as you've done your other books, because I've written so many, ये भी लिख लो. So I just got down to it, and then we talked of everything else for about an hour. So I got down to it, Bobby, and I must say, पहले एक महीने में very effortlessly, वो पहले 5 chapters किताब के, they just kind of poured out of me. I had to put no effort into it. And then I set out all those early years, because as you know in the book, I'm born about halfway through the book. So there's so much of the story before me. And then I was in Bombay, and I'd just gone for 3 days to check out and revisit my grandmother's house, cousin's house, talk to people. My aunt was there from America to just chat with her. And my cousin said, Aisha Sayani, or everybody in film industry knows her as Pooh, she just handed me about 60 pages of transcripts, and she'd done beautiful long interviews in the 90s with my mother, with her brother Alec Padamsee, with close family friends Khoshed, with Jacinda Kuna, who was the mainstay of so many theatre group plays and also acted with my father in Waiting for Godot. So there was a mine of, and my aunt Dilshad Padamsee, there was a mine of information. तो उन चीज़ों से मैं बिल्कुल अपरिचित था. So in the existing text which I'd already written, I started placing these verbatim passages just in the beginning, because it was just the first 5 chapters in the book. Then when I went along, luckily for me, through the Al-Qazi Foundation some years ago, Amal, my sister, and Nisar had put together this very tremendous exhibition of my father's theatre work. तो वहाँ पर वो सारी तस्वीरें थी, और वो पूरा टाइमलाइन क्या हुआ, कब हुआ, किस साल में हुआ, कौन कौन था उसमें, वो बनी हुई थी. And I'd lived through all those years, so it was all part of my memory. And I was writing it from the vantage point of myself. और हमारी फैमिली में क्या है, मम्मी के फैमिली में, पडमसीज में, कि everybody is a raconteur, full of stories. अलग की कहानी. तो अब जब हम कमरे में आते तो सोचना कि कौन कौन बैठा है, क्योंकि आज उसकी बारी होगी और वो बिल्कुल चुप नहीं होगा 3 घंटे तक, जैसे एक्टर्स अक्सर करते हैं. Alec was a great storyteller. My father was a fantastic storyteller. My mother, Pearl Padamsee, my aunt, and many other family members. So just all those stories you hear, they become part of family history. और कहीं पर ऐसी कहानियां भी आप सुनने में आते हैं बॉबी की, आपको लगता है कि मैं भी था, चाहे 10 साल बाद मेरा जन्म हुआ, but you've heard the story from so many different angles, कि ऐसा दिन था, बारिश हो रही थी, ये हुआ, वो हुआ, you know what I mean? So really living the moment. Yeah. So I think what I've captured in the book perhaps is people have found it the page turner, like you described it very beautifully, because it's all just that style of writing. It's like you're sitting and talking with somebody, and I've tried to bring it very vividly to life. And that's the style of my writing. And perhaps because I've written a lot about architecture, town planning, I've worked in those areas. So people have found that fascinating. That what was Bombay like in the 1940s, what was Delhi like in the early 60s. It's a revelation to people. कि NSD कहाँ पर था, और वो छोटा सा बिल्डिंग अब भी है, वो कैलाश कॉलोनी वाला बिल्डिंग अब भी डिस्ट्रॉय नहीं हुआ, और उसके पीछे के आंगन में आषाढ़ का एक दिन हुआ था, just in a residential thing. So I think there were lots of unknown corners, and the known part, the NSD years of my father, both my parents, I left in very brief, because everybody knows that. So when you say Tughlaq, people have 50 images of Manohar Singh coming down the steps and Om Shiv Puri doing it earlier. तो वो मैंने संक्षेप में किया, लेकिन उससे पहले का भाग, people have found that very fascinating, and I think people were fascinated because they didn't know about my uncle Sultan Padamsee, who was really my father's mentor in the theatre scene. Over to you, Bobby.
यानी कि आपने जो बात कही है कि एक तो खैर यानी कि एज यू सेड कि दिस इज अलकाजी एंड पदमसी फैमिली मेमोयर, जो बुक के कवर पेज पे भी लिखा हुआ और है भी मेमोयर है, भी क्या है कि जैसे जो हम लोग जो दिल्ली के लोग हैं या जो एनएसडी से जुड़े लोग हैं, दे नो अबाउट अलकाजी एंड अलकाजी फैमिली अ लॉट, बट मैनी ऑफ देम दे डोंट नो अबाउट पदमसी फैमिली.
That's right.
और जैसे आपने as you rightly said कि they know, they must have heard the name of Alak Padamsee either because of they are connected with English theatre or advertising, or he was a very यानी कि known actor, director वगैरह. लेकिन जो ये अलकाजी और पदमसी फैमिली का जो ये रिलेशनशिप है, ये बहुत कम लोगों को मालूम है. और ऑल्सो यानी कि मेरे लिए भी इट वाज अ रेवलेशन कि वो हॉर्स शू शेप्ड टेबल और उसके आसपास बॉम्बे का इंग्लिश थिएटर स्टार्ट हुआ, या जो पूरा एक जो पदमसी फैमिली का जो कंट्रीब्यूशन रहा है. तो ये बात या ये बात भी कि अमीन सैनी के बड़े ब्रदर हामिद सैनी, ही वाज आल्सो पार्ट ऑफ दैट फैमिली. तो ये सारी चीजें बहुत बहुत से लोगों को नहीं मालूम होती, जो कि इस किताब से मालूम चलती हैं. और यानी कि मेरा ये पॉइंट था कि आपने इस किताब को यानी कि मेमोइर के साथ साथ इसमें जो आपने जो आर्किटेक्चर की बात की है, चाहे वो, और कई बार आपने जो बॉम्बे का उस वक्त का आर्ट सीन था, थिएटर सीन था, दिल्ली में क्या हो रहा था, और इतने डिटेल में इतने इंटरेस्टिंग तरीके से यानी कि बहुत ही वो जो एक कन्वर्सेशन के हिसाब से लिखा हुआ है. और सुल्तान पदमसी यानी कि हम लोग जब उनके बारे में यानी कि वी हर्ड अबाउट हिज नेम सुल्तान पदमसी, तो एक इमेज होती थी कि थोड़ा सा एजेड आदमी. जैसे अलकाजी साहब भी कभी कभी जो उन्होंने भी कई बार कहा है कि ही वाज अ जीनियस, द ओनली जीनियस ही हैज मेट इन हिज लाइफ. एक जीनियस एक दूसरे आदमी को जीनियस कह रहा है अपने आप में ही वो. लेकिन व्हेन आई रेड द बुक, ही वाज ओनली 23 इयर्स ओल्ड व्हेन ही डाइड. और जो उनकी फोटोग्राफ्स,
Yeah, he committed suicide. He didn't die.
हाँ. और यानी कि जैसा मैंने बताया कि जब मेरे पास ये बुक आई और मैं दूसरे आप अलकायदा साहब की दूसरी बुक में बिजी था, तो अंकुर जी, देवेंद्र राज अंकुर, वो आते रहते हैं अक्सर, तो उनको मैंने ये किताब पढ़ने के लिए दे दी थी. एंड इट टुक जस्ट 3 days टू रीड इट, एंड थर्ड डे वो आए थे एंड देन ही स्पोक टू यू. बहुत तारीफ भी की कि ये फाउंड इट की बहुत ही आपने पैशनेटली लिखी है, ऑब्जेक्टिवली लिखी है और बहुत ही ऑनेस्टली लिखी है. और एक और एक क्रिटिक है, थिएटर क्रिटिक है, जयदेव तनेजा. ही आल्सो रेड दिस बुक. और जब उन्होंने भी इस किताब में, हमारी किताब में एक आर्टिकल लिखा है, एंड ही मेंशन, ही स्पोक टू मी आल्सो, बोले कि यार ये फैसल ने, क्योंकि उनका हम एक पुराना आर्टिकल यूज कर रहे थे तनेजा जी का, तो ये बोले कि नहीं, आई वांट टू रीराइट इट, मैं चेंज करना चाहता हूँ. मैंने क्या हो गया, बोले कि फैसल की बड़ी अच्छी किताब आई है और उसमें जो है, बोले कि हमें पता था कि सुल्तान पदमसी ने सुसाइड किया था, बट क्यों किया था हमें नहीं पता था. बट बोले उसने बहुत ही ऑनेस्टली जो है उसके बारे में बताया है कि ही वाज इन अ गे रिलेशनशिप. बोले आज तक हम लोग को नहीं पता. तो जो इसमें जो इस किताब में जो ईमानदारी है आपकी, और मुझे पता है कि आई नो कि यू आर ए वेरी फ्रैंक पर्सन, आपकी ओपिनियन आप बड़े फटाक से बोलते हैं. मुझे याद है एक बार हम कोई प्ले देख के निकले थे एंड यू वेरी, बोले बेकार प्ले है बॉबी, व्हाट डू यू से. मैंने कहा यस आई एग्री. तो ये नहीं कि इतनी ईमानदारी, फ्रॉम वेयर डू यू गेट दिस?
I think I've always been like that, Bobby. Completely from my childhood days, I was known to be बिल्कुल मुंह फट. और in fact, डैडी की फैमिली में वो सब आए थे because you know we did a beautiful function for my father's 90th birthday. He was already losing some memories and all. We did a big 300 people wala party, 90th birthday party where he was still a little bit around. I was there. I know you were there. So lots of his family chose to come back to India after so many years, and the way I was described in the family was, this is the rebellious son. So my tag in the family is the rebellious son, जो किसी की बात नहीं सुनता है. ना अलकाजी की बात उन्होंने कभी सुनी लाइफ में अपने डैडी की, and he just does his own thing. So it was very well known in the family कि जो और कोई नहीं कह सकता अपने डैडी से, ये जरूर कह देगा और कह ही देगा. ये नहीं है कि चुप रहेगा, इसमें वो चुप्पी वाली बात है ही नहीं. तो आई हैव ऑलवेज बीन मुफट फ्रॉम द बिगिनिंग एंड आई एम कंफर्टेबल विद दैट, एंड एवरीबॉडी नो मी इन दैट काइंड ऑफ वे. सो यू आर राइट, व्हेन आई गो टू प्लेस एंड इट्स टेरिबल, आई हैव अ 20-minute थ्रेशोल्ड. तो 20 मिनट में अगर प्ले में मुझे नहीं पकड़ा है, व्हिच अ प्ले शुड डू इन द फर्स्ट 2 minutes, वी ऑल नो दैट. पहले 2 मिनट में नहीं हुआ तो यू हैड इट. सो आई गिव देमसेल्व्स अ 20 minutes. 20 मिनट में नहीं है, जिसका भी प्रोडक्शन हो, चाहे मेरी बहुत ही अजीज दोस्त का हो, and out. I'm not going to sit in the auditorium and suffer bad theatre. I don't have the patience. Same with cinema. Very often, even Ketan's films, me and my wife have gone to. My wife has asked me after 20 minutes, why are we sitting here? We can't bear it. You know that, oh darling, ye hai India, ya kuch ajeeb si film ki banai thi. So we made a very immediate exit from the hall. So I think I'm that kind of person that I speak my mind, और जो भी consequences है ठीक है झेल लेंगे.
ये तो वो आपकी जो पर्सनैलिटी का वो एस्पेक्ट है वो इस किताब में बिल्कुल आता है. और मुझे याद है कि जब आपने कहा कि अलकाजी की भी बात मैंने नहीं सुनी, तो मुझे याद है कि इसमें यह मेंशन अबाउट कि व्हेन जब थिएटर ग्रुप का ब्रेकअप हो रहा था एंड समबडी कॉल्ड हिज थिएटर फसाद एंड देन ही शाउटेड. तो जिन लोगों ने अलकाजी साहब को देखा है, उनके साथ काम किया, ओनली दे कैन इमेजिन कि जो अलकाजी साहब का जो गुस्सा रहता था, यानी कि उसको बर्दाश्त कर पाना भी अपने आप में बड़ा हिम्मत चाहिए होती है उसकी.
Absolutely. And those stories I didn't tell, how he threw M.K. Raina's that costume project out of the 3rd floor window, क्योंकि ऊपर टाइटल नहीं था, उसने बस उठाकर बाहर फेंक दिया. या रोहिणी हतंगड़ी को, when she came and she had that pencil which was not sharpened, he said, I hope your brain is not as blunt as this pencil. So he was exceedingly rude, but perhaps that was the generation, Bobby, where they all worked like that. Because I've seen Alec also in rehearsal, I've seen other people, Dubey, in rehearsals, and very tough, very demanding on actors, and a lot of power play there, which perhaps our generation of directors, I think वो बात चली गई है. At least from me, it's totally gone. तो वो तानाशाही वाली बात कि my way or the highway, I think वो बात नहीं longer. I think that's gone. Thank God it's gone. I remember, and I didn't write in detail, I remember they were opening Sultan Razia I was there for the final rehearsals at Purana Killa. And I think alternately, I think Sabha was playing, perhaps Manohar's wife, Balban's wife. And maybe Neelam was also still in NSD. And just at the dress rehearsal, the next day was the opening show, he reached that point and said, stop, drop the next 8 pages and pick up. So the whole part had gone. Sabha Zaidi ka jo pura part cut. वो आकर बिल्कुल cut. वो रोने लग गई. She was sitting next to me. I knew her from family friends. Her brother was a very good friend of mine. So she was just devastated. But he had that ability to be very tough even with his own work, you know,
I know.
And very exacting. And you've seen, I mean, the actress who's worked so much with me, Mona Chawla, she was told one morning, Danton May, you do this scene with Naseem. She said, oh my God, sir, I'm only like first year, second year, something. He said, learn the lines, get there, rehearse at Kamani and do the show. And it was like, Subeh ko bataya aur sham ko she did. It was a short scene, but she, you know, had to do it in that way. Yeah.
इसमें मैं कुछ करेक्शन कर दूं फैसल, क्योंकि ये रिकॉर्ड भी हो रहा है, लोग देख रहे होंगे कि मोना इज माय बैचमेट और अलकादी साहब डिड दांतोंस डेथ ट्वाइस. Once he did at Kamani with Nasir and Ompuri and Jaspal, Manohar Bhai, etc. I think that was in 73. He did that production. And in 76, he repeated Danton's Death. This time it was done at open air.
That's right.
And the audience was sitting on 3 sides. It was kind. और उसमें ये अपना अनुपम खेर, राजू बारोट, अनंग देसाई, all that they were, and Anita Kaur was playing that character. एक ही फीमेल मारिया नाम है उसका मेरे ख्याल से, prostitute. और वो सडनली उन्होंने मोना को सुबह कहा था कि शाम को तुम्हें करना है. So this kind of challenges he used to throw to his actors.
Absolutely, and only to those people who he felt could do it. He had a very good assessment of who has that skill. And I think the fascinating part, which only struck me after doing the book, my father never looked for looks. He never looked if somebody was handsome or beautiful or anything. Not at all. He said in the performance that will come. So people often wonder, Uttara playing the lead, very plain looking lady. You know what I mean? But he didn't have that view that you cast according to a person's look at all. So that was quite interesting. That actually here was a theatre person from whom so many people went on to the film industry. But none of them had those kind of classical good looks. Puri, Naseem, nobody at all. And that was wonderful, to really have an ability to train somebody to such an extent that you're only looking at the acting. You're not looking at any star value. You're not struck by, oh my God, इसकी face का cut क्या है, या ये कितनी खूबसूरत औरत है और उसकी आंखें वैसी है. So that I think is very important in the arts, to recognize actually where the talent of a person lies and to be able to pull it out. That's an amazing ability, which certainly my father had in big measure.
Yeah, he could spot the talent. मैंने उनके बारे में एक किस्सा सुना हुआ है कि राजेश विवेक, पता नहीं कितने लोग उनको जानते हैं, वो एक कमाल का एक्टर, स्टेज के तो कमाल के एक्टर थे, एंड ही हैड अप्लाइड फॉर FTII एक्टिंग कोर्स. और तब उस जमाने में जो है FTI के इंटरव्यूज NSD में ही होते थे, रविंद्र भवन में 3rd फ्लोर पे, और मिस्टर अलकाजी उसके पैनल में थे, इंटरव्यू पैनल में थे. राजेश विवेक केम एंड ही परफॉर्म समथिंग इन संस्कृत. तो सुनाइए कि उनको तो यानी कि वहां पे उस पैनल ने रिजेक्ट कर दिया. दे वर टॉकिंग कि क्या एक्टर है, एंड एज राजेश विवेक वाज वॉकिंग डाउन दैट कॉरिडोर, NSD वाला, मिस्टर अलकाजी केम आउट एंड रैन टू हिम, उनको रोका, बोले कि भाई देखिए यहाँ पे तो आपका एडमिशन होगा नहीं, और NSD के हमारे एडमिशन हो गए हैं, पर आप नेक्स्ट ईयर अप्लाई करिए एंड वी विल टेक यू. So he could see कि इस आदमी में क्या टैलेंट है in that 5-6 minutes performance of his, and we all know कि what an actor Rajesh Vivek
great talent.
was.
Absolutely.
अच्छा, मुझे जो आपकी किताब की एक और बहुत बड़ी खासियत लगती है फैसल, वो ये कि जो सुजीत ने भी कहा अपने इंट्रोडक्शन में कि ये सिर्फ अलकाजी पदमसी फैमिली का मेमोर नहीं है, बट उसके बहाने से यू हैव टोल्ड द हिस्ट्री ऑफ इंडियन थिएटर. यानी कि वेरी ब्रीफली, आपने बहुत डिटेल में नहीं, लेकिन यू स्टार्टेड फ्रॉम लेबडेव टू विष्णु दास भावे, गुजराती थिएटर, बंगाली थिएटर, मराठी थिएटर से लेकर के जो भी बॉम्बे का था, दिल्ली का थिएटर था, एंड अप टू द स्ट्रीट थिएटर. तो यानी कि मुझे ये क्वेश्चन मेरे को पढ़ते हुए लगा कि इट वाज ए कॉन्शियस अटेम्प्ट टू डू दिस, और इट केम कि नेचुरली ये आया आपके राइटिंग में.
I think it's so important when you write on anything, and presently I'm writing a book on Sousa, the artist, to contextualize the artist. You know, we don't contextualize enough. Why is this artist prominent? Why is this artist important? And you have to see the times. So my father was an outcome of his times, as any artist is an outcome of their times. And to understand what was the big break that he made from existing theatre traditions, I think Girish, in that little bit that I've quoted, Girish Karnad wrote that in Miss Julie, I walked out of the theatre transformed, not only by what I was seeing emotionally on the stage, but also with the idea of the dimming and the brightening of the lights, or how music was used, or how all the theatre elements, everybody who worked, seen any of my father's plays will remark on that. So I think to contextualize any artist in their times, and I made a huge effort. Those are the few chapters that I wrote and rewrote. Plus, Bobby, I had a big advantage because, you know, for over 4 years, about 5 years, I wrote a monthly column in a paper called the New Indian Express, which is a huge paper in South India, on theatre. So not really reviews, but so much I'd written on Mahesh Kuntwar, so much I'd written on Lebedev, so much I'd written on people over the years, Bhangwadi traditions. So I was able to pull on some of my own personal earlier writings. And I was one of the few people, I think, around who'd actually gone to Bhangwadi with my mother and with my nana, you know, to see plays. बहुत कम लोग थे ऑडिटोरियम में, लेकिन वो पूरा माहौल जहाँ आपकी सीट पर वो सॉन्ग बुक है, जब गाना गाते हैं स्टेज पर तो ऑडिटोरियम के लाइट्स आते हैं और आपको मौका है सिंगर के साथ गाने का, वो सीन पेंटिंग्स और किस तरह के थे. सो इट्स नॉट, as somebody said, the beauty of your book is it's not a second-hand experience, it's a lived experience, you know. So everywhere the touchstone was my own experience of that space. For instance, I've written about the Gaiety Theatre because I've done 5 productions there in the last few years. I've done it. So I've been on that stage, I've worked with that theatre, I've dealt with the lighting, acoustics, everything. Great theatre even now. But just imagine it's there from the 1880s.
I know.
86, and still the most beautiful theatre. My actors always say, when are we going to Simla? because they want to just go and perform in the gaiety, in the intimacy of a proscenium, but an intimate experience. So I think my touchstone was that if you don't understand the times, you cannot understand the artist. You can't understand Safdar Hashmi's work without understanding the disquiet in India, that followed Indira Gandhi's death and through those very difficult years that we went through as a nation. And
Yeah.
similarly, for anybody, I think that whole ferment in the art scene that I've captured in the 40s with the progressives and everybody, my parents, they were like the greatest of friends with Sousa, used to, almost stay with us. So all those people, M.F. Hussain, all those lovely stories I've told in the book of taking us to see Helen के dances, वो गोल्चा सिनेमा में, उसके बाद वहाँ पर फ्लोरा में डिनर. So that whole idea of an artist in the context of their particular times, I think that's very important in any piece of writing. Then the writing is richer for it. The writing is then emerging in a different kind of way because it's been very well and crucially contextualized.
अच्छा, इसमें यानी कि एक और जो मुझे आपकी किताब में से जो यानी कि कई बहुत सारी चीज़ें, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग बातें हैं कि जैसे कि मिस्टर अलकाजी के फादर की जो आपने स्टोरी लिखी, जो कि बिलीव नहीं होता है कि ही वाज देयर इन उनको एक बंदूक दे दी गई और दैट इज यानी कि बड़ा अपने आप में वो फिल्मी भी लगता है और ये है. पर या वी नेवर न्यू कि मिसेस अलकाजी ने भरतनाट्यम सीखा, बाला सरस्वती से सीखा. But did she continue that dance?
No,
or
I think going in search of herself and a kind of Indian identity, and already she was in a very troubled marriage at that point of time. तो दोनों बच्चों को उठा के, I was 2, my sister was 9, उनको उठा के we all went to and stayed in Chennai for 2.5 years while she requested Bala, and Bala was at the top of her career. I mean, one of the greatest dancers of all time, certainly the greatest Bharatanatyam dancer. And my mother was already 30, but Bala said, yes, you come and work with me. So we lived just down the road at the YMCA, and we were there the whole day. I was very young, so we were there at Bala's house the entire day. And it was a very, very close relationship through life. But when Mom came back to Bombay and also in Delhi, she was the dance critic for Times of India. My mother was the dance critic. Yeah, for the Times of India for easily 10 or 12 years. First in Bombay, and then when we moved to Delhi, also over here. Because she knew Bharatanatyam inside out. And then she taught people, she never performed. And
she taught?
Yeah, she taught. She taught students who were wanting to learn just the beginning, the initial part of it. And I think it was a way for her to understand herself as a woman, as an artist, as an independent person. And I think through her life, she looked up to Bala as teacher. She used to call her teacher. That was the name that she called her through life. So this time in the second edition, which I hope will be out in a few months because we've almost sold out the first edition, I've added a little paragraph on Bala. And Bala, whenever she was in Delhi, she'd meet us, she'd come over. So a very young Birju Maharaj would come to our house with her because they were always talking and chatting Kathak and Bharatanatyam. And then she'd say, 1 minute, wait, in a very staccato English, go in the kitchen and say, I'll just make rasam. And then she'd enter our kitchen and she'd cook rasam for everybody. So it was a different time. I think the artists were a different breed of people. And I think having dance in my mother's life was of great significance to her.
Yeah. अच्छा, यानी कि मैंने कहा था मैं तारीफ करता रहूंगा आपकी किताब की. मुझे एक और चीज बहुत अच्छी लगी कि at many places आपने जब प्ले, चाहे वो मिस्टर अलकाजी ने प्ले किया हो या एलेक ने किया हो या किसी और डायरेक्टर ने आपने किया हुआ हो, तो यू हैव ऑल्सो गिवन एट द टाइम द प्लॉट ऑफ द प्ले, स्टोरी लाइन क्या है, कई बार वो कैसे किया, उसका तरीका जो है वो भी बताया हुआ है. और यानी कि वो कई बार होता है कि जो आपका रीडर है उसको नहीं मालूम होता है, इट इज नॉट फेमिलियर विद ऑल द टेक्स्ट. तो दैट वे एटलीस्ट जब वो पढ़ रहे हैं तो दे आल्सो कम टू नो कि अच्छा दिस इज व्हाट द प्ले वाज अबाउट, और इसको इस तरीके से किया गया. बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है. एंड दैट ब्रिंग्स मी टू योर वर्क रुचिका,
Yeah.
जो है, और यानी कि आई नो it is almost, I think, more than 40 years you have been.
Yeah, we'll be 50 next year.
Yeah.
72. We'll
तो
turn 50.
और जहाँ तक मेरे इंफॉर्मेशन है कि यू डोंट टेक एनी गवर्नमेंट ग्रांट और एनी सब्सिडी वगैरह नहीं लेते हैं, तो एक ग्रुप को इतने सालों तक रन करना, और रेगुलरली, ये भी नहीं है कि चलो ठीक है बीच में 3 साल के लिए ग्रुप बंद हो गया। और एक जमाने मुझे याद है when we came, तो beside you Pradeep was also, Kokreja was also
Arun
Kokreja. Arun Kokreja was also
very
तो
much.
तो आई वांट टू नो अबाउट योर वर्क, और कैसे मैनेज कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि जो थिएटर वाले हैं, मैं थिएटर वाला हूँ, हमें मालूम है कितना मुश्किल होता है एक ग्रुप को रन करना।
बिल्कुल। I think there are many factors, because you prepared me for this yesterday. I think what was magical, Bobby, was that in 1972, one lot of people who came together to form Ruchika, we had Om and Sudha Shitpuri as our drama teachers in modern school.
Yeah.
So actually my father's main students at that time had moved from the repertory company, which had just started, and come as teachers in modern school. And modern school, you know, with Kapoor, with Anuradha's father, it was a different story. We had Narendra Sharma as a dance teacher, we had O.P. Sharma as a photography teacher, with great artists Kamal and Devyani in the art room. So big focus on the arts. So we'd all gone through working with Om and Sudha Shitpuri for 5 years, because modern school, there was a big focus on theatre, big focus. We did house functions, so we did plays every single year. तो वहाँ पर आधे लोग रुचिका के वहाँ से आए. The other lot of people who were in the group had come through working with Barry John. Barry had just come to Delhi, and again I've written much more on Barry in the second edition than I did in the first, because he's unknown to many people. He was about 24, 25 when he came to Delhi in Yatrik, and then he was working with their children's company. So I was there, my friend Paru Anand, Meera Anand, Kokude, many people who later joined Ruchika came from there. So dono taraf se we came together. At the age of 17, we started Ruchika, and we decided we don't want any older person to get into the picture. So I remember my first production was Ashar Ka Ek Din, as my father's was in Delhi, but in English. And I remember my father saying, now what can I do? Last minute, can I help? Can I come? He came to where we were doing it indoors at YMCA. I said, no, I just request Tasreem Lal for 2 hours. So he came and put up, we had a very simple set. And I said, now you go away. He said, why? I said, everybody will think you've directed the play. You have nothing to do with it, so you need to exit and come and see it jab sham ko show hoga. So we learnt everything on our own. And I think the beauty of the group was that we learnt everything on our own. The beauty of the group was also, we were a magnet at that time, quite frankly, Bobby, for so many people who went into professional careers in the theatre. So Alok's first plays, Alok Nath, who acted with me for 10 years before joining NSD and then going on to Bombay. Neena Gupta, first plays were with Ruchika, Chuturmurg and Sakaram Binder. Mona, of course, your classmate at NSD. Anil Mehta, who became the very big time cameraman in Bombay of every single film, acted for years with me over here. Shehnaz, who produces all the international co-productions, big actress in the group, right down to Harchaya. And then these two big time directors in Bombay have started with me. One is, of course, the director of Dhoom 3 and the rather dreadful Thugs of Hindustan, Victor Vijay. So Vijay used to work with me. And similarly, you'll be surprised to know the director of the big Salman Khan films. The name is going out of my head. You'll tell me in a minute. Who did this big recent film, Bharat, the film that he did, Salman Khan did. The name has gone out of my head. I'm going to say Imran, but it's not Imran. The very successful commercial director these days. So he also started his career with us.
Not Kabir Khan.
No, Kabir was my student in Jamia, so I taught him as well. But another director, naam achanak se yaad aa jayega. He's become very, very big. He's the biggest at the present in the commercial. Okay. So we always had people who came to Ruchika with the idea कि यहाँ हम लोग सीखेंगे कि कैसे करते हैं, कैसे बनाते हैं, स्क्रिप्ट कैसे बनता है, how we break down the play, how many rehearsals we have. And from the beginning, we decided no play without 30 rehearsals. No play. No play without 10 run-throughs. Nothing goes on the stage at all. So when you take something out to the audience, it's got to be very well rehearsed. And a great strength of the group was for the first 20, 25 years that Arun alternately directed plays with me. Arun was a wonderful director, काफी सन की था, वो भी था जरूर उसके बारे में, but just a wonderfully talented and extremely creative director to work with. So it was wonderful that we played off each other, and then of course he's passed away, as you know, over 10 or 12 years ago, and for years he went into those rather strange single heroine films that he did so many of. So we've kept that tradition of every play we introduce at least one new actor, every play. Okay? And we insist all the time that we have a very strong core of 7 or 8 people who've been there almost from the beginning of the group. You know, so my lights guy has been with me for 45 years. और सुनील के बगैर play मेरा हो ही नहीं सकता. Of course, if need be, I'll do the lights on a show because I'm very deft at that as well. So those 7, 8 people, and it's lovely as with any group, then your families come into it. My wife is a formidable actress, Radhika. My son acts so well, Arman, the elder son, was also a fabulous actor. So as in any family, the next generation comes in. So many of the Ruchika people, and when we turned 25 in 97, we started a junior group. So there's Little Actors Club. So that's a great feeder for the seniors. You know what I mean? क्योंकि जब ये लोग 15-16 साल के फिर कॉलेज में चले गए, they come and act with us. तो अभी जो प्ले किया था my production year before last, Tale of Two Cities, we introduced 7 new actors onto the stage, and people were dazzled, all between 18 and 22. And everybody said, ये लोग कहाँ से आ गए? We said, ढूंढ के, और इतने सारे बच्चे थे जो हमारे ग्रुप में ही बड़े हुए हैं.
अच्छा, अभी यानी कि when we were talking अभी शुरुआत से पहले, तो you're telling about निर्मल वर्मा का आपने कोई play अभी during, so I want to know about that.
Yeah. So, you know, when we started on this dreadful lockdown last year, we decided क्या करें, क्योंकि actors are used to coming here, मेरे घर के अंदर ही ऊपर ही ये तीसरी मंजिल space है, which is our rehearsal room, and occasionally we use for very small, intimate, invited productions. So we were looking, we start using Zoom. तो पहले कुछ monologues चुने, वो शुरू किया, said अच्छा चलता है, लगभग 60-70 लोग आ रहे थे, and then we decided हर हफ्ते करेंगे. हर हफ्ते is like पागलपन, इतना rehearsal. So everything got rehearsed for about 10 or 12 hours. So scripts were there, but as we went on, we mastered the art of playing without people realizing कि script कहीं पर भी है. And then I just was looking through. I said I want to do some stories. तो एक मेरे दिमाग में था, and the first one I did was तीसरी कसम, and it's a lovely production. You can all see it on Facebook and Ruchika Theatre Group. Please see. It's a fine production of तीसरी कसम. And then I said, I've got Nirmal ki kitab hai. And I know Nirmal used to come to all my plays. You know, for about 14 years, we had colonized that Sri Ram Center basement. You'll remember.
Basement, I know. Yeah.
Like everybody said, oh, फिर से तेरा play वहाँ पर हो रहा है 6 shows के लिए. I said, yes. Because we just love that space. So he had come, I think, when I done Hazar Chaurasi Ki Maa, so 81 or 86, because I did it twice over. Must have come backstage and he'd always chat with me, loved my plays. He'd given me a book, मुझे याद भी नहीं था. तो वहाँ मेरे shelf पर था, मैंने निकाला, and I just looked at the contents, and I saw एक कहानी पर वो निशान कि किसी ने मार्क किया है, और मैं कभी किसी किताब को वैसे पेन के साथ इस तरीके से मार्क नहीं करता. तो मैंने सोचा चलो पढ़ते हैं, किसी ज़माने में मैंने शायद मार्क किया हो. So I read the story. It's Delhi in the 80s. जिंदगी यहाँ और वहाँ. It's set in Connaught Place. And it's an oldish man, definitely Nirmal himself, called Fatty in the book, and we all know he was a bit plump, having an affair with a younger girl, obviously a JNU student. So the setting is all Minto Road, Connaught Place, walking down India Gate. That's the setting. I said, perfect. I have just the right actors for it. and finished reading the book, और एक वहाँ से कोई पेपर गिर गया, तो मैंने उठाया कि ये क्या, मैंने खोला. It was a note Nirmal had written me 35 years earlier. I'd never read it. Dear Faisal, it was a wonderful production. Here's this book of mine, and there's one story that you must consider doing. I'll leave it to you how you do it, and this is the story he marked out. So 35 years after I got the book, I read it, and I did the story, and I feel it's come out beautifully well. We researched and picked out all pictures, Bobby, of Connaught Place at that time. Uth zamane ka Connaught Place, and we did beautiful visual montages as a part of the production, which we had, pre-shot, and then I did it with 4 actors, so 2 male, 2 female, different ages, and it's really something very charming. People loved it because of nostalgia of seeing India Gate at dusk, that kind of lighting, Connaught Place, Purani bookshops. That time we used to have those phone booths in Connaught Place.
Yeah.
Tapke, you know what I mean? Shishe par jahan se wo phone leti hai, is aadmi ka, or before an age of mobile phones, DTC buses. So magical to do Nirmal's play, and I said, finally, it's my salute to him, because I loved his writing as I loved his brother Ram Kumar's paintings as well. Yeah.
तो ये बुक जो है, is it this sorry book है, ये जो play है जिंदगी यहाँ वहाँ, is it available on your Facebook?
On Facebook, all our 39 productions are there.
39.
39. We did one every Friday from the 1st of May till the last year till the end of February this year. And now we're going into and I can tell you these 39 productions because we put it on Facebook, Bobby. 23,000 people have seen. 23,000
people.
Yeah. I mean, cumulatively, all the plays. Yeah. But that's a huge following.
Good number.
They picked out what they want to see. I think we've got Sujit back with us. So.
अच्छा, मैं सुजीत एक बात और करना चाहता हूँ उसके बाद कि
जरूर
इन्होंने जो फोटोग्राफ्स की बात की अपने, तो इस बुक में भी कमाल की फोटोग्राफ्स हैं फैसल जो है. आई थिंक सुजीत gave a number also, इतनी फोटोग्राफ्स, आई डिड नॉट काउंट देम. और सबसे कमाल की बात है कि पीपल लाइक हमने भी अलकाजी साहब को रिहर्सल्स में बताते हुए देखा है, बट स्टेज पे परफॉर्म करते हुए कभी भी कोई उनको नहीं देखा. और इस बुक में उनकी जो प्रोडक्शंस की फोटोग्राफ्स हैं, चाहे वो मिस जूली की हो या एडिपस की हो या तो यानी कि उससे क्या एक्टर थे वो, वन कैन मेक आउट फ्रॉम हिज एक्सप्रेशंस. और तो देयर यानी कि इस किताब का एक और ही एडेड बेनिफिट है, दीज फोटोग्राफ्स. दिस इज व्हाट आई वांटेड टू से.
Now over to you. He booked a separate day at the theatre just to document the plays. And in Bombay, he had this wonderful Mittar Bedi, who was just an amazing industrial photographer.
Mentioned in the book.
Changing to shoot for the play. So all those pictures, each one of them is staged for the camera. You know what I mean? ये नहीं है कि show के दौरान ही photographs हो रहे हैं. There's a special complete photo session. And I think very often, even at NSD, that happened.
Yeah, we did that photo session with him.
Did that,
he was hold, and we have to hold that pose for some time, and the photograph will be taken.
And now we are in a different way, no? We want the spontaneity. All my play photographs, I never pose. I just get people sitting in the aisles और वो तस्वीरें लेते हैं.
Well, after this, just as we had anticipated, there are no questions. Because I'm sure lovely, because I didn't want questions to come in that would have interrupted this very engrossing discussion. Except that I have 2 questions. One is addressed to both of y'all. In the early 70s, and that's about the time when we all middle class bongs had also dabbled into theatre in our own way, and then after some time we went. There was a magazine published out of Delhi. Which I retained that Enact, that's it. After that, Enact, I think, shut down by early 70s. It was not there. Whatever happened to Enact? It was a wonderful magazine on theatre, and there were a lot of small extracts coming out of Mohan Rakesh and this and that, and So, but that was when I moved to Delhi. Finally, I tried to locate, but somebody had one copy here, two copy there, but nobody could take it on further. So that's what it was.
It was there for about 17 years. So,
okay,
actually
okay.
lasted 17 years. Very much a one-man show by Rajinder Paul, who was
Right.
also a publisher. And when Rajinder Paul died, the magazine died with him.
The magazine died with him. It was an excellent magazine. We are all will agree.
Super.
And बहुत बढ़िया magazine थी इनक. And it was यानी कि he was not making any money on it. In fact, Rajinder Paul was putting in money in that. It was a losing proposition, but till he lived, he regularly यानी कि होता था कभी-कभी कोई issues जो 6 महीने बाद साल भर बाद आ रहे हैं पूरा एक ग्रुप आएगा 4-5 इशू का करेक्टर वो जो है.
And the other is to Faisal. This is you have seen Mr. Padamsee, Mr. Alek Padamsee, the god, the god of advertising. And since we all belong to advertising, have you ever seen him sitting still?
No.
Has he been 5 minutes of stillness? Impossible.
No.
No. I wanted to get that because I remember once.
With him, Sujit, he always had a bottle with him, and people said, "Sharab pi raha hai." I said, he's never had a drink in his life. He would have this dreadful Nimbu Pani with glucose in it, always with him. So he was that lively till the last days of his life. I interacted with him about 3 months before he died at the end of 18 or 19 probably. And he was still that vibrant and crazy amounts of energy.
Crazy, yeah. And I remember once years ago, in the Advertising Club Calcutta, of which I used to be the general secretary for a very long period of time, we used to have an annual session called the R.K. Sarkar Memorial Lecture, which was, an eminent would come from anywhere in the country and would talk about marketing, advertising, basically. So once Mr. Padamsee was invited to, and these were very serious tied and suit, and everybody, all the advertising fraternity would come, sit down, and somebody would, the speaker would read out from. But then the day the show was on, I started getting calls from the Lintus office saying that, do you have this production thing? Do you have a sound box? Can you manage this? Can you manage that? I said, what's happening, man? This is just a memorial lecture. It's a lecture. What's happening? The Lintus manager in Kolkata told me that I don't know, but I think he's having a rerun of Evita or Tarantula Tarzi. I have no idea. I keep getting calls, get this, get that. And so finally, when he came, they had sort of set up, lights. It was like a theater, that R.K. Sarkar Memorial Lecture. It was like he had to have a theater. And then he said that, you're going to give me the vote of thanks. So I said, yes, I mumbled. I was talking to the God, So he said, right, you will thank me there. And he pointed to the backdrop, So I said, thank you there. I mean, how can I thank you there? What he was actually taking on was all these, that point of time, these gizmos had started coming in, what is now we are doing. So at the end of it, his instruction was that he would talk partly live, partly on the screen, because, the video would be focused on. So all kinds of, which we had never seen. And then he finishes, he exits, and his face stays on to that on the screen. That's what he meant, that you will thank me there. So I, not to be undone, I walked up and I said, thank you, Mr. Padamsee, looking at that backdrop and sort of thing. So that was that. So this is absolutely amazing. But I think, as Sheila said, it really has been a very enthralling conversation. And I would suggest to those who have listened to us, if you still haven't got a copy of the book, get it, while we wait for the second edition of the book, which I'm sure is going to be not exciting.
It's also going into translation, and Rajkamal Prakashan bring it out in Hindi. Yeah.
Oh, lovely. So there you are. There's going to be a Hindi version of that. So that's where we are. And I think this where I think I was sitting at the backstage, and what I was going back was really the 70s, the end 60s to 70s to 80s. Yes. Oh, what a wonderful time. We are in difficult times right now. So on behalf of Speaking Tiger and Kahani Kanchethi, I'd like to thank both of you all for this wonderful session. And we look forward to... the pleasure was, and I'm Kahani Kanchetti. Thank you, Speaking Tiger, for giving us an opportunity to take this on. And well, Faisal and Bobby, thank you so much. I do hope to catch up with you all soon, and we have more such addas, as we call it, So look forward to that. And thank you very much for coming. My pleasure.
Thank you, Sujit, and thank you, Faisal.
Thank you. Thanks, Faisal. Thanks, Bobby. Thank you.